If you've ever thought, I feel something in my body, but how do I know if it's intuition or trauma, like a trauma response, or just something that I want to be true? You are not alone. This question usually shows up after you've been doing some of this healing, not before. So I get a lot of questions around differentiating, like, how do I know it's my intuition? How do I know that, this is a download? Or how do I know the difference between my intuition or my fear? And I want to break this down and help you learn to feel the difference in your body and not think your way into an answer, because that is where the truth resides. The body is where your intuition lives, but it's also where your trauma lives. And it's also where grief lives. If you are doing this work, if you are somebody that is learning to pay attention to your body, learning to feel things, learning to feel your intuition, it can be confusing. So when I say I feel it in my body, that alone doesn't tell us the type of information that we're actually receiving. And here's what's important. The confusion isn't the problem. If you are feeling confused about how you're feeling, if this is your intuition, if this is a trauma response, if this is, I don't want to say delusions, but like sometimes it's like, am I being delusional or is this my intuition, right? The confusion is a sign that your system is becoming more sensitive, that it's starting to work. You're starting to notice sensations in your body, and connecting it to manifestation, this is the work that helps you manifest much more quickly and easily and sustainably. And that's why we're talking about it. So here's the most important thing to understand. Your intuition is information. It's just is. It's just information. Trauma is protection. Your trauma response is protecting you from perceived threats. Assumption is interpretation. It is your mind doing its job, right? And they can all feel similar, but they come from completely different nervous system states. Okay. So, what does intuition actually feel like? I want to preface this by saying these are general statements. It might show up a little bit differently for you, and that is okay. In the work that I've done over the years, I've had teachers that are like, this is how it is, and it is only this way. And that is not how it shows up for me. So, the way that my intuition shows up might be different than yours, and that is okay. So I just want to say that. The key here is intuition is almost always quieter than you expect it to be. That's not to say that it can't get louder or that it isn't loud. It is noticeably softer. I mean, it is. Sometimes though, like in my experience, my intuition is like it like starts to ramp up. Like you're not listening. You're not listening. You're not listening. I've had this happen with specifically like jobs where it's time to leave and I don't love that. I don't love changing jobs. I don't love, the endings. And so it's like it gets to the point where it's so uncomfortable in my body, in my system, that I just have to face it. So it's not that intuition is always like a whisper. It just feels softer. And again, sometimes it will, like for me, it ramps up and gets loud, but it doesn't rush you. It doesn't like try to scare you. It doesn't demand certainty. It just is. And with your intuition, you can question it and it will still stay. So for me, in my experience with using the job example, I like when I felt like I needed to leave a job, like my intuition was just like, your time is done here. I did a lot of quote unquote soul searching. Like, is this really right for me? And it didn't shift or change. It wasn't like, oh, maybe not, and the difference is I could question it and it still stayed. That is just because your intuition is a truth. It is like the visual that I'm getting is it is like dropping a rock into a lake. Like it just is. It's just there, right? It is just a truth that cannot be swayed or changed. Okay. What does trauma feel like? Well, I'm going to simplify this because, trauma is complex and I'm not going to pretend like I'm going to go into all of it or how it all shows up. But when you are triggered or activated, when you are leaning into a trauma response, it will feel urgent. Your body will feel tight and protective. For me, it shows up as sensations of anxiety, right? Like I get the flight, like, ah, I gotta get out of here, feeling in my body because it is trying to protect. And it's not that your trauma responses are wrong. They are perfect and beautiful and intelligent, but their job is to keep you safe, not to guide you with truth. Okay. So when trauma is active, the body isn't asking you to decide, it is asking you to regulate. Now, in the trauma response is where most people I find are trying to manifest, are trying to create. And this happens a lot with money. It's like you get activated, like a bill comes, and it could be so subtle. You're like, I'm not activated. I'm not in a trauma response. And it's like you are because you're becoming hypervigilant. You are feeling urgency, feeling just dysregulated. And creating from that place can be harmful, not dangerous, harmful because it's like when you are manifesting, when you are just existing from this state of dysregulation, what is reflected back to you is more dysregulation. So it's like the money will come, but then another bill will come. And then you're like, well, Ashley, I'm doing this work and it's not showing up. And it's like, regulate. When you're feeling urgency, when you are feeling dysregulated, the first step is always regulate. Regulate, 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 because you're not looking at your situation. You're not looking at your thoughts. You're not feeling sensations in your body from a state that is helpful in this moment. Because to put it simply, if you are feeling anxious, you will be reflected back more reasons to be anxious. That is just how the energy works. So you want to, what I'm getting is, this is not in my notes. But they're like, the first step of your day should be to regulate because we're living in a world that is dysregulating to even the most calm, centered people. It's just, it's a shitstorm. And the more time that you can spend regulating, the more you can be clear and focused and able to hear your intuition, able to be led or guided, or even just see opportunities as they come from truth, not just from feeling needing to be urgent or certainty and needing the guarantees and all of that, which is not super helpful. So, what is the difference between assumption and intuition? So, your assumptions live in the mind, obviously. They narrate, they fill in the gaps. Your intuition doesn't narrate. It's just, this is the truth. It just simply is. And I find that for me, my intuition is annoying. My intuition, it will just say the thing, and then my brain is like trying to decode it, trying to, make sense of it, fill in the gaps. So it might just be like going back to the job thing. It's time to leave this job. And it's like, well, then what am I going to do? Where is the money going to come from? Or, and it's not that I would leave a job without having something else lined up. That's not it. But it's like trying to fill in the gaps between where I'm at and where my intuition is leading me to. And that's not the way intuition works. And it's frustrating. And that can cause you to go into a trauma response. Again, regulate. Your intuition is just this. pebble or this stone dropped into the lake. And then your mind is like the ripples trying to figure out, oh my God, where do we go? What do we do? And it's just like the truth is just there. This was the part of the question that I got because, especially since the world that we're living in currently, there is a lot of grief to be moved through, to be processed. And so it's like the difference between grief and trauma can be, or like a trauma response can feel indistinguishable. And grief is heavy but soft. The visual that I get is just like churning, right? Trauma is sharp and braced and it just like churns and churns. Grief is like I'm getting like textures. I don't know why they want me to show like textures, but it's really difficult to describe. But grief says this mattered. Trauma, your trauma responses is like this must never happen again. So it's like grief, I just the visual that I get is like curling up with a soft blanket and just cocooning and holding yourself. If you are in a trauma response, that is not likely to help. And it's like they're showing like a sword with a shield, right? So when the trauma response happens, you're like on guard. And why does this matter? Because if you're trying to distinguish between do I need to regulate or do I need to hold myself? Well, my advice is to regulate first and then, holding yourself through the grief, allowing it to move through your body. And um okay. I don't love it when I get a bunch of visual things when I'm trying to explain what I have notes for. So it's like all coming in and I'm just explaining this because it helps me process it. It's like learning to feel things in your body. Most of us, especially women, have been programmed, trained to ignore our bodies. And so when you learn to reconnect your mind from and your body and stop moving solely from just like thinking your way through life, it's like, I don't know what this feeling is. Can you please help me? Right. And also with everything that is happening, even if you haven't lost a loved one or if you haven't, lost your job or whatever, on a global scale, there's a lot of things that cause grief happening right now. And so the question was around all of these things, right? I'm feeling this in my body. How do I know if it's grief or if it's trauma or if it's, inner child work or if it's my intuition? And so knowing the difference between grief and trauma can be helpful, and also start with regulating. Always start with regulating. Because if you're moving from the lens of dysregulation, it doesn't matter if it's grief, it doesn't matter if it's your intuition, it doesn't matter because you're not going to be able to move through the world in a way that is actually helpful to the future version of you. Knowing the difference once you're regulated is helpful because then it's like, okay, what do I do with this feeling? If it's your intuition, let it be. Just let it be. If it's grief, feel it, right? Allow yourself to feel it and process it because if you don't, it's just going to stick around until you're forced to deal with it. Okay. So then it's like with the inner child piece of this, especially if you've done healing work or if you're in, I don't want to say it like this, but active healing, which I kind of feel like is a forever thing because we're humans and are consistently having human experiences. So it's gonna come up, right? But sometimes your body is protecting a younger part of you. And for me, I feel like it's the younger part feeling like she needs to protect this version of me. And so it can at best derail what it is that you are attempting to achieve. At worst, it can, cause a lot of problems. And it doesn't mean that it's wrong. It means that that version of you needs care, not to be analyzed or fixed. The protection that is coming up is a request for presence, not a command for action. So, what does this look like? This looks like regulating and then asking the part of yourself what he or she needs, doing the reparenting work. And Why do we do this? Because here's the thing. Once you learn to distinguish between what is actually happening in your body, what is the feeling telling you? What is the emotion here representing, right? Sometimes it doesn't matter, but oftentimes it does. Then, once you're able to give yourself what it is that you need, you are able to know what your actual intuition is. And then you can manifest, then you can create a life that just fucking feels better. It feels better to know, oh, I am actually triggered in this moment. I'm going to take care of myself so I don't push this person away that I'm attempting to be in a relationship with. I'm self-sabotaging. Let me take care of myself so that I can receive more money, more abundance, whatever it is that you're manifesting. Regulate, 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 regulate. When you get to the place where you're regulated. Okay, so what is regulation? Just a simple slowing down of your body, slowing down your breath, taking deep breaths. Sometimes meditation helps. I used to really love guided meditations for this because I couldn't get out of my own head. And so I always recommend that to clients and people that need help with regulating, especially guided meditations that take you through relaxing your body from head to toe. Love, absolutely love. So then you come back to your question, is this my intuition? Is this trauma? Is this? If the feeling fades once you regulate, you know that it is protection. It was your trauma response. It is grief that needed to be moved through. And if it remains, it is information. The information is your intuition. So here's the thing. Discernment isn't certainty. It is self-trust built slowly. Once you learn to do these things, your self-trust will skyrocket and it becomes easier and easier and easier to know the difference, to take care of yourself. And when I say take care of yourself, I mean regulate, process your emotions, process your feelings. I just like paused because I was like, oh, it means go cry, go have a good cry. Not necessarily. You might need to release rage in your body. That is one that comes up for a lot of people because, the first layer of defense is anger. And that is beautiful and good. And also don't hold on to it, process it. I want you to understand that this is the work. This is the most important thing you could ever do for yourself, and is why I talk about manifestation so much because the manifestation is the end goal. It's the end goal, but it's like this stuff is what makes living worth it. This is the actual point. Learning to trust yourself, learning to trust your intuition, learning to know the difference between what is a trauma response and being dysregulated and what is your natural state of being. Most people don't get to that place. And when you get to that place, life just becomes easier and it becomes more fun. And then if you want, like you can start creating from this place and it becomes easy and fun and actually sustainable. So I hope that this video has helped you, and I would love to hear any comments or questions in the comments below.